Jordan Rivera, and I'm with the U.S. Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, known as PHMSA. I work on safety initiatives on our outreach and engagement team in our Office of Hazardous Materials Safety. I'm very excited to welcome you today to PHMSA's webinar introducing our newest compliance tool, the Lithium Battery Guide for Shippers, a compliance tool for all modes of transportation. Today, we're going to introduce you to the topics covered in the guide and discuss how to use the guide as a compliance aid for shipping lithium batteries. As the title of this webinar suggests, this guide covers the ins and outs of shipping in compliance with DOT's Hazardous Materials Regulations, or HMR. First, just a disclaimer to always use the HMR when determining compliance. These slides and the guide are intended only to provide information to the public regarding existing requirements under the HMR. They should not be used alone when determining compliance. Today, we'll be referencing the content in the Lithium Battery Guide for Shippers, all of which comes from the HMR located in Title 49 of the CFR. This webinar and the guide are intended to be high-level overviews of the regulatory requirements for shipping lithium batteries. For effective use, shippers should already have a basic to intermediate understanding of the HMR, including its structure and terminology. If you do not already possess this level of knowledge, PHMSA offers free online basic HMR workshops, and they are a great place to start. You can find an electronic copy of this guide on the PHMSA website. So here's our agenda for the presentation today. First, we want to ensure that you recognize the risks posed by lithium cells and batteries while in transportation. Then, we'll cover the main objective for today, which is to get you familiar with using this guide as a compliance assistance tool to complement the HMR. To accomplish this, we want to ensure you are aware of the testing requirements for lithium cell and battery designs, understand the significance of lithium cell and battery sizes, and can identify lithium battery shipping classifications based on the type, size, and package configuration of the cells or batteries. Overall, we want you to be able to effectively locate the HMR requirements for lithium battery shipments independent of the guide. Finally, we'll cover some additional learning and resources to complement the guide. Specifically, we want you to recognize that there are unique requirements and exceptions for lithium cells and batteries transported for recycling and disposal purposes, and for damaged, defective, or recalled lithium cells and batteries. We will direct you to our resources that can help supplement this guide and give you the information you need for these situations. In addition, we want to make sure that you're aware of how shipments can be subject to the requirements of international regulations. We will direct you to where and from whom you can get assistance on these international requirements. To understand the hazards of lithium batteries, we want to point out the increasing prominence of lithium batteries along with the risks they can present in the transportation system. Our society has come to depend on lithium cells and batteries for an increasingly mobile lifestyle. Think for a moment about how many lithium batteries you encounter on a daily basis. Portable computers, cordless power tools, cell phones, watches, wheelchairs, and cars, even products that traditionally never contained batteries, such as luggage, headphones, or phone cases. Lithium batteries are everywhere and only increasing in numbers. They are important, powerful, and generally safe energy sources, but they are not without risk, especially when they are transported. Today's lithium cells and batteries are more energy dense than ever, bringing a steadily growing number of high-powered devices to market. With the increased energy density comes greater risk and the need to manage it. Shippers play an important role in reducing this risk and preventing incidents like fires aboard aircraft or other transport vehicles. The risks posed by lithium cells and batteries are generally a function of type, size, and chemistry. Lithium cells and batteries can present both chemical hazards through corrosive or flammable electrolytes and electrical hazards. Unlike standard alkaline batteries, most lithium batteries manufactured today contain a flammable electrolyte and have an incredibly high energy density. Lithium batteries can overheat and ignite under certain conditions, such as short circuit or improper design or assembly. Once ignited, lithium cell and battery fires can be difficult to extinguish. In addition, although an infrequent event, lithium cells and batteries can be susceptible to thermal runaway, a chain reaction leading to a violent release of stored energy and flammable gas. This thermal runaway can propagate to other batteries or conductive materials nearby, potentially resulting in large-scale thermal events with severe consequences. If lithium cells and batteries are not safely packaged and handled when transported, they can become dangerous and cause chemical burns, fires, and electrical shocks. Misused, mishandled, modified, improperly packaged, improperly stored, overcharged, damaged, or defective lithium cells or batteries can short circuit, overheat, and sometimes cause fire. In short, always remember that all lithium cells and batteries are hazardous materials when being transported, no matter the size or quantity. Now that we've talked about the risks and hazards of lithium batteries, which are discussed further in the guide, we'll now discuss how to use the guide as a compliance assistance tool in your operations. Here are some of the key concepts and content that we'll cover in order to get you familiar with using the guide. We'll discuss concepts related to lithium battery types, testing requirements, packaging configurations, and cell or battery size. The Lithium Battery Guide for Shippers is based around the use of two flowcharts, one for lithium metal batteries and one for lithium-ion batteries. The flowcharts are based around decision points. The decision points for navigating through the flowcharts are based on four main concepts: lithium battery type, lithium battery testing requirements, lithium battery packaging configurations, and lithium battery size. Answer the questions at these decision points, and it will direct you to the appropriate shipping guide. The flowcharts can be found on pages 8 and 9 of the guide. If you look at the top right corner of this slide, you'll see an icon that references these page numbers. This is an icon we will use through the presentation to clarify where in the guide you can find the information presented on the slide. For the purposes of transportation, all lithium cells and batteries fall into one of two basic types: lithium-ion and lithium metal. Both battery types are characterized by a higher energy density and a longer operating life than alkaline, nickel-cadmium, and nickel-metal hydride chemistries. Lithium-ion batteries are generally rechargeable secondary batteries and are found in a wide range of electronic devices such as laptop and tablet computers, cellular telephones, and electric vehicles. Lithium metal batteries are generally non-rechargeable, primary, one-time use batteries and are commonly used in hearing aids, wristwatches, smoke detectors, cameras, key fobs, and children's toys. This is the first decision point for using the Lithium Battery Guide. For lithium-ion batteries, use the flowchart on page 8. For lithium metal batteries, use the flowchart on page 9. As you will see, each flowchart begins with a title communicating which battery the flowchart is intended for. Shippers are responsible for ensuring that lithium cells and batteries offered for transportation have passed the design tests found in the United Nations UN Manual of Tests and Criteria, Section 38.3. Effective January 1st, 2022, lithium cell and battery manufacturers must make test summaries available upon request for all lithium cells and batteries manufactured after January 1st, 2008. The test summary includes a standardized set of elements that provide traceability and accountability to ensure that lithium cell and battery designs offered for transport meet UN 38.3 test requirements. The UN 38.3 testing accounts for several transportation factors, such as altitude changes, vibrations, and impacts. Manufacturers and subsequent distributors of lithium cells and batteries must make this information available to others in the supply chain. Reach up your supply chain and check with the battery manufacturer, supplier, distributor, or equipment manufacturer to determine if a battery design has passed these tests or obtain, if applicable, the test summary. Battery manufacturers must keep copies of the test results so long as the battery design is offered for transportation and for 1 year thereafter. This is an important decision point when using the flowcharts. All cells and batteries offered for transportation must have passed the applicable UN 38.3 tests. The only exception to this is shipping prototype or low production run batteries, as you'll see on the flowcharts, or shipping batteries under disposal or recycling exceptions by motor vehicle. As you will see back on the flowchart, this is the first decision and starting point. Unless a battery is a prototype or low production run battery, or being transported for disposal or recycling by motor vehicle, the batteries must be UN tested. As the shipper, the next decision point is how the batteries are configured or will be configured for transportation. Are the batteries simply in a package by themselves, or are they already installed in an electronic device? You can see which UNID numbers correspond to specific lithium battery configurations on this slide. The regulations and the guide pages you reference will differ based on this decision point. The hazardous materials regulations designate classification used for hazard communication based on the configuration. Each configuration has a specific UN identification number and proper shipping date. The first configuration is simply batteries by themselves. Lithium-ion batteries by themselves are assigned the UNID number UN 3480. Lithium metal batteries by themselves are assigned the UNID number UN 3090. The second configuration is batteries that are installed in the equipment that they power. For example, a laptop, cell phone, or power tool that is being shipped with the battery installed. Lithium-ion batteries contained in equipment are assigned the UNID number UN 3481. Lithium metal batteries contained in equipment are assigned the UNID number 3091. The third configuration is lithium batteries packed with equipment, for example, an uninstalled spare battery. Lithium-ion batteries packed with equipment are assigned UNID number UN 3481. Lithium metal batteries packed with equipment are assigned UNID number UN 3091. The next UN number refers specifically to battery-powered vehicles, or EVs, with lithium batteries installed. Vehicles are assigned the UNID number UN 3171. This ID number is also used for vehicles powered by wet batteries or sodium batteries. The last UN number refers to lithium-ion batteries or lithium metal batteries installed in cargo transport units and designed only to provide power external to the cargo transport units. This configuration is assigned the UNID number UN 3536. Here again, back to the flowchart, you will see where the different configurations are located as a decision point in the flowchart. Let's practice determining our classification based on configurations. Remember, correctly identifying the configuration will help you determine the correct guide page to use and will impact packaging, hazard communication, or transportation restrictions. Refer to page 5 of the Lithium Battery Guide for Shippers as we go through these. The first scenario is that you're delivering an electric vehicle to a customer who ordered it from a car dealership. The answer here is UN 3171 battery-powered vehicle. Next, let's say you're shipping a digital camera that's powered by non-rechargeable lithium metal batteries and want to include a few extra batteries for the customer. The correct UN ID number and proper shipping name here would be UN 3091, lithium metal batteries packed with equipment. Now, here's another common scenario. You're shipping a laptop with its rechargeable lithium-ion battery installed. In this case, we'd use UN 3481 lithium-ion batteries contained in equipment. The size of lithium batteries is the next important decision point when determining what guide page to select and which regulations apply in transportation. When we talk about the size of a battery in this case, we really mean the energy capacity or lithium content, not necessarily the physical size of the battery. For the purposes of the regulations, a small battery will not exceed the energy capacities listed in this table. For ground transportation only, some slightly higher energy capacity batteries can be considered small batteries. Many consumer electronics you'll come across will fall under the small battery threshold. For example, a typical laptop battery might be around 60 to 80 watt hours. A cell phone battery generally won't exceed 12 to 15 watt hours. Some electronics manufacturers may even specifically note that none of their product batteries exceed 100 watt hours. This is them communicating that their batteries meet the small battery definition. You'll see when we get to the guide pages that the packaging and hazard communication requirements for small batteries are less stringent. Larger batteries, like those that power hoverboards or electronic bikes and scooters, will most likely exceed the 100 watt-hour rating, but may fall under the 300 watt-hour rating. Some refer to this as a medium battery. However, that's not a term that's used in the hazardous materials regulations. So for the purposes of using this guide, know that the term medium battery could be referring to a cell or battery that qualifies for the small battery exceptions by ground transport, but is fully regulated when transported by other modes of transport, such as air. A lithium-ion battery for an electric vehicle or stationary power source is even larger and can have a very substantial watt-hour rating. They generally will not qualify for any exceptions. Back on the flowchart, you'll see where the cell and battery size is a relevant decision point for locating the correct shipping guide. Now that we understand the main decision points that affect the regulations applicable to lithium batteries, it's time to use the Lithium Battery Guide for Shippers to find the right guide page for your situation. Open the guide to page 8 and find the flowchart for selecting your guide page. We're going to summarize and walk through again how to use this flowchart. First, verify that the batteries you intend to ship have passed UN tests. This information can be obtained from the manufacturer or others in the supply chain to whom the manufacturer has already made this information available. Next, you'll need to know the battery type and configuration. The two types being lithium metal, your non-rechargeable lithium batteries, or lithium ion, your rechargeable batteries. Once you're sure of that, determine the configuration that you will be shipping in by looking at your product. Is it installed in the equipment or packed with the equipment? Are you shipping just batteries, or is it a vehicle or cargo transport unit? After you've verified that your batteries have passed the UN test, determine the battery type and configuration. It's time to figure out the size or energy capacity of the battery. Remember, small batteries are eligible for less regulation, as you'll see in the guides. Additionally, this would be a good step to determine what mode of transport you intend to ship your batteries, such as air or highway. Now that you know all this information, you can select your guide number. These guides, as you will see, walk you through the requirements for packaging and hazard communication based on the factors you've selected in the flowchart. There are 10 guides total that cover most lithium battery shipping situations. Let's take a closer look at a guide page. The shipping guides provide instructions and details a shipper would need to know for different lithium battery shipping scenarios. Using Guide 5 as an example, we see the first half includes the shipping classification and basic hazardous materials description, which includes the UN identification number and proper shipping name. Next, we see the packaging requirements. This includes instructions for inner packaging, cushioning material if necessary, and the outer packaging. The guide also includes what hazard communication is required for the package, so markings and labels that would be on the outside of the package communicating what is on the inside. Lastly, it includes additional requirements, such as whether you need to receive DOT hazmat training in order to ship, or whether the shipment requires hazmat shipping papers or emergency response information accompanying the package. For context, while it's nice to be able to have this guide as a one-stop shop for lithium battery shipments, we feel it's important to note that all this information is from the HMR 49 CFR parts 171 to 180. For those familiar, you would know that in order to properly determine packaging, exceptions, or air restrictions, you would use the hazardous materials table found in 49 CFR 172.101 to look up your proper shipping name and UNID number to find the packaging section, exceptions, applicable special provisions, and air restrictions in the regulations. For more information on using the hazardous materials table, please refer to our publication, How to Use the HMR, or check out a future offering of our packaging webinar, which discusses the basics of this concept. The second half of the shipping guide continues air restrictions, but also gives you a visual representation of the packaging and hazard communication. You'll see images of the packaging, including a list of authorized packaging types, like boxes or drums, that you'll be able to use. You will also see images of the lithium battery class 9 label and cargo aircraft only label, if they're applicable, and which package marks are required. For this example, the package is fully regulated, so you see the UNID number, proper shipping name, and consignee/consignor marking. Additionally, you'll notice regulatory citations for where the information is found within the 49 CFR. Let's look at some examples using scenarios you might encounter. Let's say you must ship a spare battery for an e-bike. You receive documentation from the manufacturer that states that it's UN tested. It is a UN 3480 lithium-ion battery with a watt-hour rating of 500 watt-hours. Using the flowchart, you can determine that your appropriate guide page is Guide 1. So turn to pages 10 and 11 in the Lithium Battery Guide for shippers. You can see that UN specification packaging must be used, and it must be rated to a packing group 2 level or better. You can also see the required hazard communication and that anyone preparing this for shipment, including anyone preparing the shipping paper, would need to receive DOT hazmat employee training. For another example, you're trying to ship 10 cell phone batteries. You receive documentation from the manufacturer that verifies that they're UN tested and are UN 3480 lithium-ion batteries. But they have a much lower energy capacity and are 14 watt-hours each. Using the flowchart, you can determine that your appropriate guide page is Guide 2. So turn to pages 12 to 14 in the lithium battery guide for shippers. For packaging, you will see that while you may use UN specification packaging, it would not be required. The batteries must be shipped in inner packagings with cushioning, if necessary, in a rigid, strong outer packaging. Common examples could be fiberboard boxes or 5-gallon plastic pails. For hazard communication, you'll see that the lithium battery handling mark and cargo aircraft only label are required. Now that we've covered the relevant information, decision points, and how to use the lithium battery guide for shippers, we'll now go through some of the additional learning and resources that will supplement your knowledge. As a reminder, we're going to discuss international regulations, damaged, defective, and recalled batteries, as well as batteries being sent for disposal and recycling. It's important to mention international regulations because as shippers, you will encounter them, especially for air transportation. The guide discusses this on page 3. The first main takeaway to remember is that any shipments to, from, or within the United States are subject to the HMR requirements. Most of the requirements in the HMR are consistent with international regulations and standards. However, there are often some important differences. PHMSA authorizes the use of the International Civil Aviation Organization's technical instructions for the safe transport of dangerous goods by air, known as the ICAO technical instructions. PHMSA also authorizes the use of the International Maritime Dangerous Goods Code, known as the IMDG code. The use of these regulations are subject to the additional conditions and limitations of the HMR. Lithium batteries and battery-powered equipment may be transported within the United States by vessel and by motor vehicle or rail either before or after being transported by vessel in accordance with the IMDG code. Lithium batteries and battery-powered equipment may be transported within the United States by aircraft and by motor vehicle or rail either before or after being transported by aircraft in accordance with the ICAO technical instructions. We always recommend consulting the most recently incorporated editions of these regulations. For both international or domestic shipments, we also recommend checking with your carrier for any additional requirements. Notably, many air carriers have supplemental policies and/or limitations with respect to lithium battery shipments. These requirements can often be found by consulting directly with the air carrier or International Air Transport Association, IATA, publications. Lithium cells or batteries that have been damaged or identified by the manufacturer as being defective for safety reasons, that have the potential of producing a dangerous evolution of heat, fire, or short circuit, for example, those being returned to the manufacturer for safety reasons, may only be transported by highway, rail, or vessel. These cells and batteries are strictly forbidden for transportation by aircraft. We discussed some of the packaging requirements for these DDR batteries on page 6 of the guide. The main takeaway is to remember that these batteries are subject to more stringent regulation than a regular battery, and often a DOT special permit is required. At the end of this presentation, we'll direct you to some resources we have developed in the past that give more information and insights on DDR batteries. The guide also mentions certain exceptions in the HMR for lithium batteries shipped for recycling or disposal at the end of life. Certain packaging and UN testing exceptions apply for these batteries when shipped by motor vehicle. We discussed this on page 6 of the guide. At the end of this presentation, we'll direct you to some resources that we have developed in the past that give more information and insights on recycling and disposal requirements and exceptions. One of the first resources to share is PHMSA's Hazardous Materials Transportation Training Modules. These are free online training modules that fulfill general awareness and familiarization training, as well as security awareness training. It is important to note that shipping lithium batteries means that you're subject to the training requirements of the HMR unless you are only shipping batteries under the smaller battery exceptions we covered today. There is more information on necessary training in each shipping guide. We also issue other publications to provide compliance assistance. Always check our website for additional publications. As we also mentioned earlier, we offer a full series of webinars to educate stakeholders on the basics of the HMR. You can check out our website for additional information on these offerings. We also have a recorded webinar available through EPA's Sustainable Materials Management Web Academy on lithium battery recycling, disposal, and reuse. This offering also discusses damaged, defective, and recalled batteries. FAA's Safe Cargo site is another excellent compliance resource for lithium battery transportation by air. We encourage you to explore the FAA site for resources and tools for shipping by air. And finally, if you're looking to ship using the United States Postal Service, it is essential that you check out their site, and specifically their Publication 52, which are the USPS regulations and restrictions for shipping goods via USPS. One final valuable resource for you is the Hazardous Materials Information Center. This information center is staffed Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by information specialists that can assist you live and one-on-one with any questions you have on the HMR. If they don't know the answer to your question, they have direct access to all staff at PHMSA and can direct you to someone who can answer your question. We also want to provide you the contact information for the community liaison in your region. These folks are located in your region and can also provide you compliance assistance whenever you need it. Finally, we'd love to know how we did today. Your feedback will be used to improve future offerings. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your commitment to transportation safety and hope to hear from you with any compliance assistance questions.